when we say a word in language, it's very difficult to wrap our heads around this because we're so used to thinking about words as just little tokens that we use in language, right? You sort of move them around on the page or you say them in your mouth. But think about what goes into even learning a word, right? When you are told that there is such a thing as a cat, for instance, as a little child, right? It's impossible to fully reconstruct that experience. But when you're learning a new language, sometimes you can sort of regain this experience when you find a word in a language, in another language that describes that you don't have in your own language, that you can kind of suddenly encounter a word that describes something that you've always had the experience of, but never quite put into words. Weltschmerz is a good one in German, right? World weariness. And so then what's happening is, well, you have encountered the thing, right, that you are experiencing before, that you're learning a word for. You have experienced Weltschmerz, kind of weariness of the world, or at least you've experienced it in others. The pain, the angst of just living in this world. It's been expressed online, you see it, and you might even have a concept of it in your mind as a thing, right, as distinct from other kinds of feelings. And that is something like the verbum intellectus, the intellectual word, the mind word. And the language word that you're acquiring in your vocabulary, is only capable of being used because you already have that language function in your brain that is already creating the space that the word can occupy. And so when you say a word, even a word like cat, right, all you're doing is finalizing, uttering the sense that is already in your mind, that the thing called a cat is different from other animals. And when you see something, you can recognize it as a cat because it fits into that container in your mind that will ultimately be associated with the sound and the letters C-A-T, cat, right? The use of language is a kind of final technology that we use to convey something much more deeply rooted in our consciousness that we're always doing all the time. Reality is this kind of continuous mess, and yet when our minds encounter it, they identify certain true categories. And one of the most important ones that we are currently fighting over is the category of man and woman, right? And this is why, beyond the horrors of, the mutilation of children, beyond the political fights, squabbles that we're having over like the use of bathrooms, the trans craze is actually much deeper than the vanishingly small number of individuals that, experience persistent gender dysphoria. What it's much more truly about is the nature of words, right? And are we able to cogently say that a man is a thing and a woman is a thing? And the argument against that from the postmodernists is always, well, look at these, intersex individuals, or look at these few people who have different chromosomal patterns. And you can always chip away if you say, well, a man has these, genitalia, then what about castrated men? And if you say, well, there are these chromosomes, what about this person with 3 chromosomes? And that is an assault on the language using function full stop, which is to say we are able actually to experience categories even though there is always an exception to any marker of that category. You can always find an exception on the edge. But if that exception means that there's no such thing as the category, then language doesn't work at all. And anything can be anything that you want it to be, which is why trans has become a whole mode of thought. It's not just about gender anymore, right? It's about transing, the queering space and queering, the way that we deal with literature. And all of that just means kind of dissolving boundaries between things, which is a recipe for chaos because the only thing that exists in reality is the imposition of human order, the meeting of the order inherent in the human mind with the outside world and its kind of unknowable chaos.